Welcome everybody to the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. I'm one of your lovely hosts, Angelo.
And I'm your other lovely host, Liam.
I'm Shaymin. I'm not necessarily
No way.
lovely or a host.
Yeah, Shay was just here. Shayman broke into the Discord server. There you go.
And drew themselves on all the channel art.
Yeah.
We just perfectly had like a space for a third
Yeah, we
person
had an
on
extra
every
space.
single piece of channel art.
Yeah, this definitely isn't the second episode, and Shayman definitely wasn't in the first.
I wasn't. That was a different one.
Yeah, Shayman was an illusion.
Releases episodes out of order to troll.
God, yes, please.
This is actually the 5th episode we're recording.
This is actually, yeah. So last time we went over, all the Spider-Man stuff and whatever, but this time we're hunkering down. We're focusing on 2 trades, so graphic novel size, of Hellboy's Volume 1 and 2, Seed of Destruction and Wake the Devil.
Because last episode was way too long. Yeah.
And honestly, these are just like super fun books that I have a lot of experience with, that I've read, time and time again. But for my co-hosts here, what about you guys?
Yeah, I watched the movies from Guillermo del Toro, and that's about it. And I thought they were just okay.
So, I read The Wild Hunt like 2 months ago, roughly. Nice. And I was like, wow, I should probably read the first half of this story.
Yeah, you should probably go back. you jumped right in the flat middle. You're like,
no, it all made sense. Ooh. Honestly, it was fine. It was good enough. But
one of the things that we'll definitely discuss about when we get into opinions and all that is Hellboy is a very kind of concise read, But let's throw some history at you guys. And I'm going to cite my source. I'm going to Britannica.com.
Can you make sure to cite it in APA
MLA format?
No. APA.
All right. So
no one uses that shit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Shut up, Shaymin. What are you talking about? So Mike Mignola, great artist, great writer, created Hellboy. And in the 1980s into the early 1990s, he had a lot of work with Marvel and DC doing covers, interiors, still had a sort of superhero-ish style going into Hellboy. But Hellboy first appeared as a sketch in 1991 and kind of started developing the character for years later. Until 1993 at San Diego Comic-Con, Hellboy made a guest appearance in John Byrne's Next Men later after the San Diego Comic-Con appearance. But in San Diego Comic-Con, there was a couple of short stories that Mignola did for the San Diego Comic-Con Comics #2. And starting in 1994, Byrne and Mignola made the 4-issue miniseries of Seed of Destruction. So, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Seed of Destruction before we even, talk about Wake the Devil.
That's a good idea to talk about them in linear order.
The first one. Yeah, let's talk about them in a nice, precise linear order. Big brain.
Of 1 then 2.
No. We'll pull a Shaymin. We'll talk Wild Hunt and then go Volume 1. We'll Wild Hunt and Seed of Destruction.
The one I've not read.
Yeah.
So again, this is my first time reading. So for me, I think it's a really good starting point because of it's the start. So it's a very clean, easy ride getting into it. Explains some of the elements of the origin story of Hellboy while still leaving quite obviously a mystery and a purpose that is yet to be revealed, which I don't know yet because I only read the first 2 volumes, but
yeah. Yeah. Shaymin, Any opinions on the story, or actually just from both of you? Any opinions on the just overall story? Like, what are some things that you liked? What are some things about the beginning going into everything else?
So I definitely like the choices of monsters in Hellboy. It's when you think of like a fantasy type thing, they can kind of do anything they want, but they choose like very weird
frogs.
Frogs.
Yeah, weird frogmen.
Mutant people. Witches. Like
Yeah, like they throw a lot at you, which is super fun. And specifically within Volume 1, I feel like it's such a fun, like very X-Files-y story, like mashed with a lot of Lovecraftian like mysticism, and it breeds so much potential, and you could really see that within this first volume.
Breeds so much potential, and it does because of the series happens after.
Yeah, a whole series happens after, and like a shit ton of spin-offs.
The whole media giant.
Yeah, literally.
Like, the smallest independent
Dark
comic.
Horse, yeah. when you think Dark Horse Comics, like the for me at least, when I think Dark Horse, like I just kind of go, oh yeah, that's the Hellboy company.
Yeah.
Like they just pump out all that Hellboy, and I feel like the story is very nicely paced. Like there's a lot of mystery and dangling threads, and Byrne, and even in even later Mignola can get a little wordy in some spots, but it's of important information that gets broken up with a lot of wordless action.
Yeah.
I would say in the first one, I didn't find it a huge issue too.
Yeah. The first one felt nice and concise. You could definitely feel like Mignola definitely shines through, but Byrne definitely keeps things kind of snappy.
Yeah.
Kind of quick. And
so as far as from what you've told me, he operates a lot more on like an advisory, more like an editor sort of for Mignola's general like plot and premise. Like he's writing a lot of it, and Byrne like cleans up.
That's what I imagine. And that's the main thing that I get from this. That's the kind of general vibe. Like, especially reading Volume 2 right after. Volume 1 seems like Mignola had a story that he wanted to set up, and Byrne just came in and just put in the words. Made the characters have that energy and dialogue, and helped focus and tunnel it in a direction that I think really is satisfactory.
Absolutely. There are a couple things that I do also enjoy as far as like setup, as far as like Hellboy talks a lot about like anger issues, and while I wouldn't really say in this issue it plays like a huge deal into the narrative because if he gets mad and then beats the monster, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an issue or a flaw in that moment. It kind of works out.
Yeah.
But I can see the seeds of that, which I do know gets put into practice a lot more, as how that affects his life a lot.
Oh, for sure.
And so I like the seeds of that. As far as the first one, the Seeds of Destruction, it's a very simple narrative when all said and done, because of it's a lot more self-contained. They didn't know it was like a whole series at this point because of, I don't know, you don't know what's gonna sell unless you're like Disney. And you're making it exactly. So it does kind of the exact right amount of like wrapping itself up but leaving a lot of future room and stuff like that. I think back to what Shaymin said too, like a lot of the sort of like folklore and like, I guess like mixed with conspiracy. specifically with like the Nazi presence in the narrative, which is like a very fun, quasi-historic, sort of trope that I enjoy is like the Nazis experimenting with occult shit, which is, I don't know because I wasn't there, but I have heard some people say that they did do that.
Yeah.
But also like intuitively, I'm like, that could just be propaganda and not true.
Yeah.
Like, that could just be a lie.
It has historically been confirmed that Hitler did have some sort of belief in the occult and have some sort of desire to search out occult objects like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. Like, that is pretty accurate
Persona
to
2.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate to what Hitler was going after. He's like, oh, I want these things. I want anything that could potentially bring me power. So also using the historical Russian wizard Rasputin is very
They didn't
neat.
call him Rasputin in the first one, though, did they?
No,
I'm pretty sure they didn't say that. Oh, they said it in the first one?
I believe.
They said it kind of closer to the middle or end-ish, I believe. I can't exactly remember. But they do name drop him as Rasputin. He is the historical wizard man. And whenever he's on screen whenever he's in panel, and whenever he has his like long, like mystical
his robe,
like monologues, I'm like, this is so fucking fascinating. Like, I love over dramatic, like mystical waxing, and you get plenty of that with Rasputin. Plenty of like kind of talking about the supernatural and metaphysical and the entire mystery involving the Cavendish family, their cursed lineage and bloodline, and how it's this kind of American tale, this American curse blended with this Lovecraftian Ogdru Jihad weird space shit. Like, there's so many layers that kind of nicely stack on top of each other as we learn things with Hellboy.
So what I'll say is, like, my favorite part about Hellboy's story is that Hellboy as a character doesn't care or want to interact with the story at all. Like, so basically, all of this like super metaphysical, what's the word for that?
I guess you mean like his
destiny.
prophecy.
Yeah, it's his destiny to do all this shit. That's what everybody says, no matter what, no matter who is interacting with Hellboy. And Hellboy doesn't give a shit because he's got free will.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of this monster, and then I'm gonna go home, and I don't know,
shut up. And then afterwards he explodes. Usually that happens.
Usually no he himself explodes, or like
everything around him explodes. He is almost always at the end of a fight gonna blow up.
Yeah, he gets he gets to the end of every fight.
Seriously,
even within within this book and the next, and he always leaves like super fucked up. Like, he never leaves unscathed. He's like the most scrappiest like brawler, like in comics. And I love his personality too within this first volume. I love, like you said, everything that we just talked about with him resisting that destiny, like him. But specifically in volume 1, there's a little bit of an interest. He's like, you brought me into this world. No, like, I don't give a shit. Like, fuck you. I'm gonna kill you. Like, he has that. He has that moment.
He always lets people talk too.
Yeah.
He, in particular, though, he says at the end, like, he's better off maybe not knowing.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, there's probably some crazy lore behind me, but like, that's I'm not gonna sleep.
I'm 52, man.
No, exactly. Hellboy's like, I'm not like you literally just said, like, he's not gonna be able to sleep if he knows, like, he's gonna, and that implies that he knows his own nature. He knows that he's gonna want to search out whatever that is, and he's like, I'm good, like, I'm chill.
I like what I've got going right now. Mostly.
Shaymin, didn't you say you were excited to see Hellboy's relationship with his father going into
it was
this
great.
book? Yeah, it was great. He dies in the first 10 pages. You're like, oh boy,
awesome, great relationship.
But even with the brief moment that you get, I also love the weird like Captain America analog, the Torch of Liberty or whatever. Like at the start,
yeah,
he's just there. He's just like, that's
Does
a
he
kid.
show up ever again?
He shows up in some of the kid Hellboy stuff.
Okay, so in
when they go over his
material.
the prequel stuff. And even in I think Sea of Destruction and Wake the Devil, he makes references to the Torch of Liberty. It's like he always said I was the worst shot that he ever taught or whatever. But even I know when I hit something, like you get little moments like that, which are really fun, really referential, and it's one of those things I like in a story where they just throw us into the deep end. Like they give us a little bit of setup and then they just throw us in, but we don't feel lost. Like there's still enough background information that's shared just through dialogue that really helps us stay in tune and invested. And yeah, this whole first story just kind of culminates in that battle between Rasputin and Hellboy, the Cavendish ancestor possessing Abe Sapien to also, I love Abe Sapien. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
I love Abe. Abe's so fun. What a great design. What a quirky little guy with his little like beard and sunglasses disguise.
I've heard great things. He doesn't get
enough.
A lot of material in the first two, but I'm looking forward to more.
Yes.
Specifically in the second one, he's got like 3 panels.
Oh yeah, second one Abe kind of doesn't get a lot to do in the second one, but in the first one he has a little bit of purpose in the plot.
Scenes.
Yeah. So the Cavendish ancestor possesses Abe, throws a harpoon straight through Rasputin's heart.
Yeah.
As he's trying to absorb the energy from Liz, who's this pyrokinetic, pyromancer basically.
Yeah, we're talking magic, bro. We're not doing superpower vocabulary.
I mean, technically,
it's magic. It's weird, occult, like psychic shit.
Yeah, it's her psychic brain shit, dude.
And defeating Rasputin kind of sends Hellboy home with that thought that we mentioned earlier of just like, I don't want to learn more about this. I'm glad that's done. I'm going home. And
I'm just gonna go microwave some dinner.
I'm gonna pop in a TV dinner, watch Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, dude. I don't know why that's a funny thing to think of and watch.
Hellboy.
But yeah, no, we basically just reached the end of Hellboy Volume 1, and I just want to make some comments on the artwork within this volume. And this will kind of just involve, I guess, kind of both in a way, but mostly Volume 1. And if you guys have any comments about the artwork, about the panels or anything like that, feel free to go ahead.
I will have some comments more on writing, but I'm going to let you do art first. So again, specifically within the context of the show, we all have our fields. Angelo, you should definitely educate us on the art style and its usage within it.
Yeah.
Give us what you got.
Okay. So one thing that I really love about Mignola's style is, at least for me personally, some people I know aren't really big fans of his work, and that's understandable. It is a very graphic designy, kind of heavy with the black shadows.
Yeah.
But it uses it very well and in a very clean manner. A lot of clean compositions, a lot of shots where you could very clearly tell where characters are on the planes between each other. There's a nice sense of depth, and everything just oozes with atmosphere. Like I love the use of all the heavy blacks within the backgrounds, and even some of the set dressing that Mignola puts in there, like in the Cavendish manor, when you see all the little portraits on the walls and the potted plants and urns, and all the character designs, all the outfits, all feel very, very appropriate to the type of setting we're getting here. The colors really help that too. Because just in the raw black and white, Mignola's style is very clean, very graphic designy, very much heavy on the shapes that he uses. And one of the things that I always notice with his work, and even some other people's work, is when you look at modern comics or comic mediums like manga, like American comic books, European, they always use a lot of speed or motion lines nowadays. A lot of crazy like effects around the fist when somebody's punching, but Mignola just focuses on the gesture, on the pose, on just the clean, like shot for shot actions, right? Like in Wake the Devil, there's a sequence that I myself, as a comic artist, just went, oh, that's fucking brilliant. And it's like the littlest thing where you see a guy pick up a rock, throw it through a window, and then climb through. But it's just such a simple sequence, but it's clean. Like you could understand wordlessly what's happening. And that's the thing, like when you go back and read stuff from 60s or 70s Marvel and DC, specifically Marvel, when Stan Lee's writing, like he'll describe every single thing that's fucking happening on the panel for you, and you'll be like, dude, Jack Kirby already did that for me. I already know what's going on. Stop talking.
It's a visual medium, please.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, the visual part is the words.
Yeah. yeah, that's what Stan's like, yeah, visual, you need to read the words. Excelsior.
You need to read the words to see what happens.
Yeah. but Mignola, you could tell that he has a lot of especially with some of his pose work. I know it's a lot of early like Jack Kirby in there, like you could see in the way that he kind of does like the hands and like the outstretching poses. But everything, like, another great panel or page, I think it was a splash page, when Rasputin is standing and has like that glowing staff or scepter, and you see like the tentacle thing behind him. Like just the use of composition, just having that one like singular point that's all heavy black, and then the background just using line to indicate the shape of the tentacles. Like it's so ingenious, it's so good. Like I love everything about the book, just in terms of a narrative standpoint. Like every panel just helps lead you into the next. It really is a masterclass in storytelling in that regard.
Yeah,
it's very appreciative of like sort of its audience and stuff like that, and like more like respectful of its audience, and I appreciate it, is what I mean to say. Is that I read a lot of old books just in my free time, and sometimes it's like you gotta skip like entire chunks of words to just even maintain any pacing, where it's just so nice from just to do it. It just happens.
Just breeze through.
I don't think there's really anything other than just like slug lines of where we're at. So it's just like, hey, we're like in Romania or whatever, I guess, right now. And it's like, okay, cool, because I wouldn't have immediately guessed that, like, inherently where we're at. You could say that, but they don't go like, and now Hellboy and friends are on their way off to Romania, where they're going to attempt to find... It's like...
Yeah, no, everything's very nicely just kind of put within dialogue or within just those location captions. Like you never really need much more than that, and Mignola just kind of helps set things up within the art, and Byrne kind of helps complete stuff, at least within this first volume, help just kind of complete it with like just your splashes of location, dialogue, and everything flows really nicely. You get a lot of nice setup with the Cavendish family through the dialogue and all that stuff too. Like it's a really fun read. Like very like we said earlier, nice, concise solo. Like if this is all that you read of Hellboy, like you would still leave happy. Like you'd still go, yeah, that was a good book. That was a good book.
Yeah. Another thing you said that I do also, I didn't even think about it, is the, like you said, use of the just like posing instead of like speed lines and effects and stuff like that, which as someone who has read plenty of manga, it is so hard to tell what's going on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of, even like in stuff that we all like agree is like well drawn, like One Punch Man is incredibly well drawn. Sometimes I am lost.
That's because it's black and
in
white
the
too.
art. That also contributes, but again, like work with your format.
Yeah.
It's very difficult sometimes to tell what's going on. I'd say the only book that I think I have read that generally avoids it is like Dragon Ball up to a certain point because the style is very simplistic.
Yeah.
At least as far as like action manga and stuff like that. Obviously, this is not an issue with drama or anything like that.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, I think the best way of describing Mignola's work, especially within Hellboy too, is clarity. Just nice, pure sense of just clarity. Like you can tell what the characters are doing, where they're going, how they're feeling, the expression work. It's all great. It really is like awesome.
It's very efficient, and I'd say the same as far as like the writing and stuff like that. It's just very efficiently written.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't waste a lot of time hanging on any scenes. It's a very smooth introduction to the world and characters. Like it very rarely does it feel expositional.
Yeah, they do a very
per
good
se outside of maybe like the opening scene where Hellboy gets summoned, but even still, like that's not just because of it is exposition doesn't mean it feels expositional.
Yeah.
It's a very visual medium, like as far as like this book, how it utilizes its art. So it also is not just directly telling you, which is great. That's great. That's a very big show don't tell in like film and all of that stuff, how you'd rather show things. And I'd say it very much utilizes show don't tell.
Yeah.
It's just a very efficient introduction to this world that just drops you into it, gives you a little glimpse at the beginning of the origin just because you have to know this information.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To set up sort of like the relationship with Rasputin in particular.
Yeah.
And then you're in the mission. It's like,
Hellboy's just doing his thing.
Yeah, Hellboy's dad gets fucking murked by a frogman, and now he's got to go investigate this old haunted manor.
And with Hellboy's own inner monologues, you get his relationship with the characters and stuff like that, which is, again, I think one of those nice little middle grounds between like novels and like more like animated or like filmed stuff is you can't really have an inner monologue, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
In comics in general, the inner monologue is so good at characterizing both Hellboy himself and how he sees the world around him and his relationships with characters. It's just an overall like clean introduction to this world.
Yeah.
And also, just one last piece on the art. It also just sets a great vibe. Just a great vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I don't like his work as much when it's non-Hellboy shit.
Yeah,
it's so perfectly suited to like that universe because it's his universe. But like a very like spooky occult atmosphere and stuff like that. He's so good at like when he does like normal superhero comics. I don't think it works as well.
Yeah, I think his best superhero work is probably like the I can't remember if he did interiors on it or not, but I know he did the cover for the Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom team up. I feel like that's a good use of him, like putting him in those more mystical, magic-y.
Take your word for it.
Situations like, I mean, just having Mignola draw Doom blasting demons and Doctor Strange doing some magic whatever shit, like it's pretty dope.
Like he is perfect for a cult style storytelling. He sets that tone perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, are we ready to move into Volume 2, Wake the Devil? Or is there anything you wanted to say about Volume 1, Shaymin? Or are we all good on that?
No, I'm all good on Volume 1. I want to talk about Volume 2.
Sweet. So,
you got some shit to say?
Shaymin's got some shit to say about Volume 2.
I want to talk about Volume 2.
So, Wake the Devil. First of all, going into it and getting that initial hook of like the Romania plot, all this jazz. Like, you're like, where's the Wake the Devil come in? Where's this name come from? And then you see towards the end, and you're like, oh, there's the devil waking up.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Mignola, slow your horses.
Yeah, Mignola is writing and drawing this now. No more John Byrne. Get him out of here. It's Mike Mignola's now. It's all him, baby. And if you kind of felt like Volume 1 was missing that Nazi punching action, Volume 2's got you. Volume 2 is more Nazis and stuff.
They're a lot more present in this one.
Yes. And a lot more characterized. You get a good sense of their personalities within this. You have Ilsa, who's very very domineering, very angry, very powerful Nazi woman. And then you get the I always get their names flip-flopped, but the one with like the weird like gas mask or whatever.
I could not tell you their names.
Yeah, it's but like I think whatever his name is, the guy with like the mask is like aggressively polite, and I'm like, what a fun dynamic for like these three, where you get like Nazi scientist man, weirdo in a gas mask that's like very polite and nice, and then you're like angry Nazi woman. Like, what a weird trio. And they all call Rasputin Master, which is like such a mystical, like magic-y idea of like, oh,
well, yeah, because Bro's a straight up immortal wizard.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Master Wizard, teach us your magical ways. Like it's so fascinating. And we just kind of hop from the Nazis kind of getting unfrozen to a murder in like a wax museum that leads them to having to hunt down after
a vampire
in Romania or wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it's just your.
I'm fact checking. Romania.
Excellent. So we get a deeper look at the BPRD, how they work. A little bit more of a structure. A little bit more side characters now being introduced with Leech, as well as like a couple other like guys, like I forget the name of like the basically like director, like Nick Fury of the thing, where he's like giving them the whole mission breakdown. Then Hellboy's like friend.
Hellboy, you have to go by yourself.
Yeah, and then Hellboy's like,
"Cause fuck you."
Hellboy's like, "What the fuck?" I love Hellboy's reactions because actually that's the thing I want to comment on. Volume 2 is a lot funnier than Volume 1.
Yes,
I found myself chuckling a lot more. Hellboy's like, what the hell?
This is where his sarcasm really takes a hold. And he doesn't lose it.
This is like for real. Like,
he's like everybody else will die if you go where you're going. And he's like, yeah, but
yeah, this book's so much funnier than Volume 1, because Volume 1 takes itself like, there's moments where you're like, oh, that's a little funny for Hellboy, whatever. But it for the most part like takes itself very seriously, and this still takes itself seriously, but has a lot of moments where you're just like, oh, what the fuck, like
that,
for Hellboy,
and then the jetpack moment,
the jetpack moment where
these things never fly. No, trust me, it's gonna work. Explodes in the sky. Almost
I told
immediately
you,
falls to the earth.
And then literally later, everyone else is using the jetpacks, and it works fine for them. He tries to use his gun, it clicks, and then explodes.
Everything
like,
explodes on Hellboy. I'm telling you. It's really
so
funny.
Good.
Like, dude, it just sucks to be this guy.
Yeah, like it just sucks to be Hellboy. And you get a lot more of that in this volume, which I find super fun.
Not only does it explode, but he lands right in front of all the Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing I love about this volume is you start with another mystery, another kind of hook. They front load you with a shit ton of like info, like, hey, this Gear Askew guy, people think he's a vampire. He used to be, the main squeeze with this Nazi chick.
Yeah.
But now, yada yada yada. His body's been taken back to Romania. We have to make sure that he doesn't get revived, or else that'll be a big bad thing that'll happen. Hellboy, you go by yourself. Everyone else goes in teams.
You go by yourself.
Hellboy, you deal with it.
If shit just happens to you, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And the entire like back and forth between Hellboy and the other groups, like there's a lot of, while Hellboy Volume 1 was very self-contained, this one has a shit ton of setup that has its moments of comeuppance within the story, but leaves dangling threads for later. So this is when it really starts to become this overarching narrative rather than just Sea of Destruction, 4-issue miniseries. There we go. Now it's like, all right, now we have something ongoing. Now we want to kind of keep people invested. Because we don't get...
We have to bring people back for the next arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we gotta make the thing.
But is there any other parts about the story that you guys enjoy or have comments on before I keep rambling on?
So as far as the narrative on this one, again, like you said, it's a little bit more, I would say, broad. A lot less focused on this one little thing because of the nature of it being more of like, first off, it's an expansion of what was previously already shown, and also now we're a little bit more of an ongoing format instead of just like a mini series, like one shot sort of deal. And so on one hand, the expansions of what we were already previously shown, like it's BPRD, right?
Yes. Yeah. The Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense.
Yeah,
I think. Which is what a great fucking name.
More of the those characters was great. Seeing a little bit more of how the operations work was great. And diving into some of like the Nazi characters, particularly Isla, was, I'd say, like the main focus of the narrative because of her relationship with the vampire, and the relationship between her and Rasputin's a lot more developed than the other guys.
Yeah.
You know, essentially making them a lot more distinguishable other than just being Nazis. It's like, okay, and this one's stupid. This one's a monkey. This one's a floating head. This one's just this one's an angry woman.
Yeah, no, like it adds kind of depth. I feel like for all of them, they get this kind of extra depth and layering going on to them.
Yeah.
But especially Isla with her relationship with Rasputin.
But I will say also near the end, because of the fact that I think it's setting up a lot more shit in the future that doesn't wrap up in this thing, a lot of it feels like shit's just happening.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, shit's happening. And since, like, you know, obviously, you know, that's more of an issue of I just haven't read the stuff that comes next. But it's not like entirely resolved. It's like a lot of setup stuff, and it's like, all right, yeah, man, shit's happening.
Shit's going down. Yeah. I mean, especially, and I actually had the one scene with Liz and Leech kind of written down in my notes, just because I kind of thought that was a very telling scene for Liz as a character. Where Leech, the new guy whose whole thing is like, oh, I'm good with magnets and metal things.
Just like Leech is.
Yeah, no, but he's like, oh, you know, like why'd you come back? Like after the whole show with Rasputin and like in Sea of Destruction. One thing I like is that they do reference a lot of the shit that happened before.
Yeah.
And you don't like if Volume 2 was your first hopping on point, you still probably wouldn't be confused. Like you would still be like, oh, okay, you know, like I kind of get this. But the scene with Liz and Leech, like he's like, oh, like why'd you come back? And she basically just kind of, you know, tells her origin again, but from her perspective. And she's like, oh, like, you know, I got into an argument with this kid, accidentally set him on fire, then his house, and my house, and then 32 people ended up dead because of me. So yeah, even though I'm like destructive, and even though like this job fucking sucks, like the BPRD took me in, like this is all I have.
Well, yeah, pretty much a long way of saying, like, I'm incredibly dangerous to myself and others. Fuck else am I gonna do other than this?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a great and that's all in just one page too.
I
Like
can't
that's
just go work at Walmart, bro.
yeah, like it's so good. Like I'm like, wow, that was just so nice and like concise. Like such a telling moment. And then to go to your thing of like shit just happens is when they find that homunculus. She like pokes it and then it kills a guy and then it runs away. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Almost kills her.
A lot of
kills a guy.
And so like the Isla becoming like an Iron Maiden demon, and just like I don't know, like a lot of scenes of just like people showing up and talking to Rasputin and stuff like that. And I don't know, like near the ends, a lot of it is just like, all right, yeah, shit's just happening, and you're gonna find out more about it later.
Yeah,
but when compared to like Seeds of Destruction, it's not. It makes it less of a satisfying read within its own arc.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
I think specifically, you gotta like read the extra little 2 stories right after Wake the Devil that they have in the omnibus. That does help wrap up the book a lot more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they have that epilogue scene with Rasputin, which is really good with him and the Baba Yaga.
Oh, for sure.
Like that one's great because what I put down in my notes is like he basically has this aspiration of like, and even with the historical Rasputin, there's some like ties in with that where it's like he wants a position greater than himself. Like he wants that aspiration. He's always been vying for power, and now that he's dead, Baba Yaga's like, well, do you want to go rest, Gregory? And then he's like, no, I like this isn't pointless, like this isn't fruitless. I'm going to obtain godhood, like a man. I'm going to prove that a man can become a god. And it's like, all right, bye.
Your choice.
And it's kind of like this sad thing of like he's just this kind of like lonely, empty man just searching for something. Like he doesn't want to be a pawn used by the Agru Jihad. He wants to basically control them. He wants to be something greater.
Bad news. That shit ain't happening. Probably. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I'll just guess that shit's not happening because of almost everything to do with Lovecraftian like media. Oh man, I'm a human, but I want to have the power of the gods and control these Lovecraftian forces. That shit never works out. That shit never happens.
Yeah, I think the story. We were talking about how it's not as clean cut ending wise. I like a lot of the action within this book.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one has a little bit more fun, kind of like out there action, than Seeds of Destruction.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Seeds of Destruction action was just Hellboy getting ratioed by this one frog guy.
Yeah.
Over and over again, and him just getting punched and then punching it and going, oh man, it's not working. And then Rasputin goes, and then he takes a fucking pole to the chest.
Yeah, literally. Meanwhile, this time Hellboy's just kind of a lot more scrappy, a lot more just throwing hands with like every enemy that comes his way.
A lot of varied types of monsters in this one, where he's not just fighting against frog people and that's it.
Yeah, like he fights an old vampire. He fights
monkey,
like the harpies or whatever they are.
He fights those. Yeah, like we didn't even talk about Hecate yet.
Hecate,
the witch goddess.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's a very cool.
Oh my goodness.
She's a very important figure, and that's another thing I put in my notes is I love seeing these very important figures in the Hellboy universe starting to get set up specifically within this one, because Hecate and Baba Yaga do make plenty of appearances later.
I'd hope so, because that's part of the thing where I'm like, yeah, a lot of stuff is happening as they show up, and I'm like, I don't entirely know what's going on yet with you, because I gotta read more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and once again with what we talked about with Seeds of Destruction with Hecate, and then again later with the vampire Giraskew, they kind of keep doing that thing of like your destiny, Hellboy. But like Hecate gives a little bit more than what Rasputin could give him, and Hellboy like just flat out just denies it. He's like, "Fuck off!" Like stop talking to me. You're gross. You're a snake lady. I don't like you.
Shut up,
lady.
lady.
Leave me alone.
Shoot you. I will shoot.
Oh, he can't shoot him.
I'll shoot you. My gun exploded. What the hell? Oh, I also love the whole side plot with the Nazis in the lab and the guy that was ordered by Rasputin to go find them, Zinko or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And how all of his products don't work. Every time one of Hellboy's things is about to explode, it zooms in and shows like the Zinko logo, and then it explodes on him, and he's like, "What the fuck?" But the scene where Rasputin goes, "Why'd you find fucking Jarhead? I hate Jarhead." And then the Jarhead Nazi guy's like, "Fuck you, Rasputin." And then Rasputin's like, "Zinko, you're blind! Get blinded!" He's like, "Ah!" And then he just hits the self-destruct button, and the lab explodes.
It explodes. And are they dead? Like, did that kill them? Do they show up again after this?
I'm pretty sure.
Read the rest of the book, asshole.
Yeah.
Read the next book.
I think it's pretty fucking funny. Totally Rasputin's fault there. His plan could have worked fine there. He just decided he could have adjusted. Come on.
He didn't like vaporize Jarhead. He was just like blind.
Yeah, he could have vaporized Jarhead or left Jarhead here. He could have just like, you're here now.
Could have just thrown him out a window or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Flush him down the toilet. He's in a fucking head.
But there's a lot of setup too with like whatever Hellboy's actual name is, like Anon Unrama or something like that. Like whatever, like prophesied like destroyer of worlds that he's supposed to be.
Name.
I'm almost certain he has like 3, dude.
Yeah, he has a bunch, but
I mean, I'm sure I'm in Ra. Hold on.
Yeah, with the
I got to
specifically
scroll through my book.
That prophecy, you get more of that with the Nazis too in their little lab about like their army of 666 soldiers, and it's like, oh, like why such a small number? It's like, oh, it's symbolic, like it's the rising of the beast, the bringer of the end times, whatever, throwing in a lot of your Lovecraftian, but also like Book of Revelations, like a lot of apocalyptic like doom tidings.
I do
it's all like a lot of fun layering there. Yeah, go ahead.
They mix in a bunch of different mythologies too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really fun about it. Every little area, like all of them are real.
Yeah.
All of them are real and like fucking with Hellboy, because all of them already know who Hellboy
who
is.
He's supposed to be.
He's the guy.
Yeah, and to comment,
I will say your camera, Angelo.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but you look like you're like
Sepia.
You look like one of the.
You look like you're from the 40s.
Those like Game Boy printed pictures. You look like one of those.
Really?
I'll send you a
screenshot.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, send that.
Hold on. I got it. It's unfortunate. The way I send the screenshot is I have to leave the Discord thing, so sorry, Liam.
Try to see if
more
my
edits.
Main Wi-Fi network is bad. I'm running off of a hotspot right now.
I can tell. You look hot.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, you look like you're burning in there.
Oh, there you go. Your flesh turned back into its natural color.
I'm like, I'm alive.
Screenshot.
It's in VC.
Hold on.
You look saturated, dude.
I'll saturate you. Oh wow!
I'll saturate you.
God,
you'll look
horrific.
like that, motherfucker.
My flesh came back. Holy shit, that's terrifying. Let's just make that the thumbnail. That's the thumbnail for the video, and just like Photoshop a little.
I wasn't sure if that was like your filter that's like blurring.
I think
your
it's a bit of
background
both.
or anything like.
No, it was the
taking
filter.
over.
going with like the shitty
I think you became part of the background and it cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's okay. Background. I'm back.
You're safe now.
Yeah, I'm safe. I'm saved. But let's talk about one more thing about the story. At the very end, what I was referencing earlier with the wake the devil part, we get some very weird, like the three birds that show up and then begin to kind of talk about Hellboy's destiny. Yeah. Very much insinuating that those are the three fates, you know? And they're kind of like trying to spin a yarn telling Hellboy about his destiny. And as his horns grow and the fire burns out of his mouth, he's like, fuck you! And then just like snaps them off. And in a way, he is reborn. So whatever implications that has for the future of Hellboy, you know, like that's a very kind of big, kind of climactic moment for the book where he quite literally like denies his destiny, like not only verbally in the past, but now physically he rejects it. Yeah. Like there's no shot in hell that he'll try to go down that path. So
you're gonna destroy the world, Hellboy. Nah.
And honestly, that is probably the best summary of Hellboy as a story. It's that. It's developing that destroy the world as much as he can.
Yeah, and it happens a lot within Hellboy, but it never gets like annoying. You know, you're always like,
oh, it's always engaging. That's the thing.
It's always engaging because it always happens at a point like very climactic for Hellboy. You know, it always has this great build up.
You're gonna destroy the world. Why would I do that?
I live here.
To all the guys that got all the BPRD guys that got murdered on this mission.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Everybody died. Spikes. Everybody who like was new was murdered, basically.
Yeah, except for Leech.
Except for the named one.
Yeah, except for the named one. The other like three guys dead. They're done. One gets skewered, the other one gets twisted like a fucking Rubik's Cube by a homunculus. And Hellboy blows up a castle. That's cool.
Instead of splitting them into even teams, they just go, okay, now Hellboy, you do the mission, and this team can just all die.
How about you guys do reconnaissance missions?
Yeah, literally.
That's generally it.
Yeah. That's generally it for the story. So any like just closing opinions on artwork, story structure, you know, how these two relate to each other? You know,
well, just say like closing thoughts, just like as far as just Hellboy and the experience of it is, first off, it's better than the movies.
Yeah, for sure.
It's better than the movies. I enjoy it. So the movies, I barely remember them, but I remember when watching them, I thought they were kind of Resident Sleeper. Other than the visual or like the practical effects, even because if I just say visual effects, the CGI is dog shit.
And the 2017 movies, even.
And I didn't even bother watching that one.
Oh man, I left the theater mad after seeing that one. I was like,
I had a couple Hellboy friends who went to the theater and came out and all complained to me. They were like, "Dude, this sucks." I'm like, "That's crazy," because I don't know what you're talking about.
It's incredible how bad they adapted that story.
It really is incredible how.
Because that is just the Wild Hunt, by the way. That movie.
Yeah.
And it's just worse.
They hop ahead to the Wild Hunt and then just go, all right. But what if we change things for the worse?
It's like they do a bit of the first book and then the Wild Hunt and then like fuck everything up.
And there's a little bit of their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they just make Hellboy like unfunny.
He shows up in a post-credit scene, but his hand just smacks the tank. Like it's kind of sucks.
Like a Marvel movie.
Lame.
Shape of Water teaser.
Dead ass. No, yeah. That's Ape Sapien solo movie.
Speaking of other Hellboy related content, they got the game coming out too.
It came out.
Oh, did it come out? Wow.
Yeah, dummy. Yeah,
it's out. Web of Weird. I heard people enjoyed it.
I mean, the fact that it came out
$25 game,
and I didn't even realize it. When did that come out? Like very recently?
November or December.
Oh God, yeah. Wow.
But yeah, no. I heard some of the voice lines of Lance Reddick as Hellboy, and I'm like, I could rock with this. R.I.P. Lance Reddick. But
yeah, I was gonna say like, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but he's pretty good in the role.
Well,
but yeah, there's so much fun Hellboy content out there. Even hopping into
Not again.
solo stories.
Okay, he's back.
all right, we're chilling.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm interested in continuing. I'll definitely read at least the third one for sure. Like it will go into my reading rotation.
I mean,
I can't say for sure how far I would go because of like it's a whole thing. Like it's a media like franchise in itself.
Yeah,
so
it's a giant for sure.
I won't say I'll read all
of it.
Like, but I don't know. I'll keep going.
I mean,
no, but there's plenty of fun stuff, plenty of short stories and side stories you can read. Like, sky's the limit where you want to hop in.
I read Strange Places too. I didn't realize.
Is that the third one?
No, it's the second one. And pretty solid.
Nice.
Hellboy as a character is very strong, and I don't know. There's not many others like him, or at least they don't hit as well.
No, for sure. Hellboy kind of
very
bounces.
gritty, sarcastic, and
It has a lot of heart to him too.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
That's the very important thing. It's like Hellboy, even with all of his rage and grit and like kind of chip on his shoulder, he also has a very good heart to him, and a lot of good fun about him. Like he's very personable. He's very pally with all of his BPRD guys. He's like, hey man, or like, I can't wait to go to Romania and find nothing. But hey, they're
there's a
chicken,
restaurant
whatever.
there.
There's chicken paprika, baby.
Yeah. He's like, I love that chicken paprika, or whatever the hell.
And he doesn't eat it.
So good.
He's like, that shit's so good. And then when he wakes up later and he's like, what happened? And it's like, yeah, dude, 3 guys are dead, and like we kind of failed the mission, but you killed Girascu, so you kind of succeeded.
So we're technically mission succeeded. Let's go get that chicken now.
Yeah, let's go get that paprika chicken.
Hellboy's like, I'm not gonna worry about that Iron Maiden. That's a problem for another day. He literally says that. He's
problem for another issue.
He's like, I
good.
I just want food. I'm good. Yeah. I love how every one of these ends with Hellboy going, I'm good.
There's like a 100% chance I'm gonna meet this Iron Maiden bitch again. So yeah. I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah, he's like I'm gonna wait on it. I'm gonna wait till later.
Well, yeah, good. Pace yourself, bro, because you don't want to exhaust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just exploded like 800 times. That's
rest. Important for you too, the viewer / listener.
Yeah,
pace yourself.
Yeah,
don't
explode yourself.
Yeah,
try to avoid anything explosive.
Next time you explode 8 times in like an hour, make sure to take a break and eat some chicken paprika.
Dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, take a break, Sorry that your jetpack exploded on you. Try again next time. You always pick yourself back up.
I think we'll wrap up with a little bit of our book club. Name still pending. I assume it's just book club.
Yeah.
Even though most of the time it doesn't involve books.
Super awesome. Book club thing where it doesn't necessarily have to actually about books. We'll come up with a jingle later. None of us are music guys, can you tell?
Book club.
But yeah, it's more just talking about media that we've lately experienced.
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah, since Shaymin, you're the one that kind of segued us in. Go ahead. What have you been enjoying lately? What's something that you want to recommend?
Like 2 weeks
that you can't talk about because of we're doing another episode on it, so you can't say the one thing.
Oh,
yeah, you can't say that one thing, but other stuff's fine.
I'm pretty sure it's Dune, right? I'm allowed to talk about that one, right?
Yeah. Insofar as the plan now, we are not doing a Dune episode.
Yeah.
Yet.
Keyword.
Never.
I would love to do an episode. It's just that's going to take so much longer than anything else because of Dune. Even if we were just to do like Dune the first book, that's like a 900 page long book, and it's very dense and wordy. Like, so that'll take a minute. Like,
oh, for sure.
That being said,
but what are your thoughts, Shaymin?
Yeah, very very fun book. Honestly, I love the world building. I love the political landscape of it. I love most of the characters. I think honestly all the characters are pretty strong. I think the main villain of the book, the Harkonnens, the Baron is very intimidating, if not a bit like like flawed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, what do you mean by flawed necessarily?
I think he's not cooking with his plan most of the time because he's constantly scheming. He's so focused on like scheming and getting ahead that he kind of
that bro is falling behind.
Yeah, he's falling behind. He's got to like take a chill pill a little bit. Constantly stabbing everybody in the back doesn't work, which I mean, yeah. I
mean, it does until it doesn't.
Yeah, it does until it doesn't. But whatever, that's the Harkonnen method. They're pretty cool. I think Dune's obviously split into 3 parts. Like pretty much the main book.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to be brief about it.
The book is split into 3 parts. Thank you for attending my TED Talks.
The start of the book is very good at establishing the world and the 2 main factors being water and spice. And I think it's a very strong baseline for the main character Paul to kind of explore. He just has to figure out his way through like the political ladder as it goes on.
How far into the book are you, by the way?
I finished it.
Oh, you finished it. Okay.
Yeah, I finished reading it currently.
Okay, excellent. Do you want my copy of the second one?
Sure.
I never actually finished the second one.
You should finish that.
I got about halfway through it. I got about halfway through it.
It's a lot.
Like a couple years ago, and then I forget what happened, but like a lot of school shit happened, and then I just stopped.
So I did audiobook
I never got back to it.
I did it very legally.
Through audiobook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dune. I mean, for the listeners, then I guess maybe I know Shaymin knows. I don't know if Angelo knows. Dune is like my second favorite book ever. It's so good.
It's very good.
I love it. Would not recommend though if you don't want a very dense political narrative.
Oh, it took forever.
It takes a long time to get through, and you have to be 100% engaged and paying attention the whole time.
Yeah.
It's by no means a light read, but it's very rewarding once you get through it.
I had to reread a few times.
And I hate both versions of the movie, so...
for some reason they don't know how to cook a movie.
Yeah, including the new one. Oh, the new one's better. No, it just looks pretty. Fuck you.
Got him. Get fucked. You know, we told you earlier, the viewer, to pace yourself, but now you can get fucked if you do movies.
Yeah.
The benefit of Dune taking...
If you like this objectively good movie, yeah.
The best part about it is, obviously, you just get to stay with Paul the entire fucking time of the movie, and you get to see him grow and change his morals and stuff like that, which is very fun. That was my favorite part.
It's one of those books too that is just so perfectly utilizing just the literature, because as we talked about, like comics utilizing like their things, games utilizing what makes them unique, movies doing what makes them unique. This is a book that works as a book because it is a book. It's really hard to make it not a book. It's pretty rough. But yeah, great book. Anyway, Angelo, what have you been experiencing?
Is it a book?
I have been reading a couple of things. I've been keeping up with some ongoing comics, like the new Ultimate Universe. I picked up Ultimate Black Panther #1, which solid read. Definitely recommend if you're trying to get into the new Ultimate Universe. Each Ultimate Universe #1 book, whether it's Spider-Man or Ultimate Universe #1 or Ultimate Black Panther, just kind of gives you a good introduction to what's going on, and then
and it's not the same Ultimate Universe as the last one, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, it's not the same Ultimate Universe. It's a brand new thing. So if you're looking to hop in. Like it's a super fun ride. And I'm very interested in seeing where things go. Black Panther's paced a little weirdly. I feel like it goes a little too quick, but it's an issue 1. You can only fit so much in there. Ultimate Spider-Man #1 is pretty perfectly paced.
Yeah, how's that?
Don't go into it expecting like some straight Spider-Man action off the top. It really is a lot of just kind of setup.
What's the big son? Because we know the twist. Spoiler alert with Ultimate Spider-Man. That Ultimate Spider-Man sort of twists on the narrative / like sort of like gimmick is that Peter Parker does not become Spider-Man until he has already established like a full family with Mary Jane. And stuff like that, and his Uncle Ben is still alive and stuff like that. That's sort of like
that's cool.
The Ultimate Universe twist on this version of Spider-Man. What's the Black Panther's twist?
So basically, the way that the Maker sets up this new world is that he basically has his like shadow government. He has his pawns that kind of help control certain regions. So the leaders of the entire continent of Africa is Ra and Khonshu. So the main enemy that Black Panther has to face is Moon Knight. And the entire thing with Ultimate Black Panther, the entire thing with Ultimate Black Panther, honestly, not too much is crazy different. It's just that instead of like in a World War II setting where you see like T'Challa's grandfather teaming with Cap against Nazis, it's just T'Challa, on the defense against Khonshu and Ra, who are trying to slowly but surely like infiltrate and take over Wakanda, and having to deal with his role as king. And it doesn't reinvent the wheel. If you've read a Black Panther thing before, it's good, but it kind of is a little bit more of the same, at least at the start. But you do get some cool stuff with like Killmonger and Storm being this duo pair of like freedom fighters within Africa. So there's a lot of pieces on the board. It's just now seeing what they do with them.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, and interesting that this is a universe created by the Maker. Okay, interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So
that means they can remove it at any time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they could have already done that with like everything other than mainline universe. In fact, they did with the last Ultimate Universe.
When they were like Secret Wars.
It said, "Oh,
you think they're gonna do that
anymore?" Anyway, the universe exploded.
How long do you think before they?
It seems like
do an
this
ultimatum.
New Ultimate Universe has It feels like this new Ultimate Universe has a very clear, like, everything converging point, because the whole point of it is the Maker stopped heroes from getting their powers, like, dangerous heroes to his whole vision, from getting their abilities at the points where they were supposed to. So, like, Spider-Man didn't get bitten by that radioactive spider. He grew up, had a family with MJ. Like King T'Chaka is still alive, and T'Challa's king of Wakanda, and his dad's just kind of like an advisor to him. A lot of things that are just, slightly different, but different enough to where these heroes haven't been mobilized to be heroes. And that's what Tony Stark and his little ragtag group are trying to do, is trying to...
Are they called the Ultimates in this version? Or do they just call them the Avengers this time?
I don't think they necessarily have a name yet. I'm kind of just assuming they're the Ultimates, or that's what they're going to be. But for
the record, a name I like better than the Avengers.
The Ultimates is kind of cool.
It kind of goes crazy.
It does go hard. But yeah, like this new Ultimates team basically like has to time travel and give like all of the heroes their catalysts for their origins. So it's like Doctor Doom, who might be Reed Richards, like this universe is Reed Richards actually. Some people are theorizing it might be Ben Grimm, and I'm like, that could be cool.
He made his own version of himself in this universe.
It's essentially not necessarily.
The Maker is Reed Richards.
Yes, yeah. It basically like he time traveled throughout this new universe, and everything evolved to the point where like it was basically gonna just be like a Mirror 616 universe, but then he just
tweaked some
stopped
things.
Origins from happening. He tweaked some things. So Tony Stark, Iron Lad, because Tony Stark is like Iron Man Armored Adventures. Tony Stark, he's like 18, like 17 or 18. He's young. His dad was Iron Man before him. And yeah, you just got this new group of Ultimates trying to basically course correct and stop the Maker. So it feels like that's what it's all going to lead up to.
Okay.
Is all these heroes getting their powers back.
You don't think it's going to be like sort of like I say quote unquote permanent fixture of like Marvel the way because of the original Ultimate Universe lasted approximately like 12 years, which is a pretty long time for like a run per se. Like you wouldn't say this is you don't feel that this is going to necessarily last that long in the same way.
I think this has more of a finite point that they want to reach, and anything after that I think is just kind of up to what I'm guessing exactly the sales and how well the stories are received.
Okay, so we're going to see an arc at the very least.
Yeah, we're going to see a full universe arc where all these characters are going to collide at some point.
Let's hope they cook.
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, all of Ultimate Spider-Man, like the covers we've seen, the character designs,
looks cool.
Same with like Black Panther, like it all looks dope as shit. Like it looks fucking awesome.
Don't fuck it up.
Don't fuck it up. I mean, I trust Jonathan Hickman as a writer. Jonathan Hickman's kind of front running this, as well as Ultimate Spider-Man, and you know, I loved his work on Secret Wars, his Avengers run, Fantastic Four, East to West was his book for Image. You know, like he's a good writer. I trust him to produce something fun at the very least, but hopefully it doesn't get to be too much for him. Like presumably what happened when he was front running X-Men during House of X and Powers of 10, where he slipped up and was like, this is a little much. I don't think I could do this.
I think we're done here.
Yeah.
Blow everything up.
All right. Well, that's neat. I do intend on eventually starting to read that. I barely read Marvel anymore because I have not particularly enjoyed very much recent stuff.
Yeah.
Marvel's been kind of been throwing out stinkers. I think
this is the first time we have interest
is needed.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Which is Universe conveniently really the Ultimate Universe came around last time it was needed because of it came out post like 90s, which was a rough ass decade for Marvel. It was a brutal decade for Marvel when they dropped the original Ultimate Universe.
I hope this becomes a trend.
No matter your opinion on the Ultimate Universe, you can definitely point to it at least revitalizing interest in sales somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. I'll probably keep up with it. And the Maker is one of my favorite Marvel villains, actually, outside of his origin, which I think is so stupid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his incel moment of like, Sue doesn't love me.
Well, no, I think that whole thing is insane because of the world is ending, and then Sue gets hurt, and he's like, okay, people I know will take care of her. Other two Fantastic Four members and qualified medical staff. I, the scientist, am going to try and find out what happened so the human race doesn't die out.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and she's like, you don't love me because you left to go save the world. Me. So
no, I let my homies take care of you.
So the team is over now. And on one hand, he did have this insane reaction to that. Like he killed his whole family.
That was an overreaction.
He killed the entire Fantastic Four. Yeah, he was like, all right, die.
No, like his birth family. Oh, he killed his like biological family. Because of that, for some reason,
we have an overreaction sometimes. I get it.
And then destroyed all of Eastern Europe. like
anger
killed
issues.
millions and millions of people. So yeah, it wasn't like a good reaction, but also that's an insane reaction to read when he went and tried to save the world and left you in good care. Like, I don't know, you guys are superheroes, it's your job. So I do also think that was kind of weird.
I mean,
ignore the origin story. I like him. It's pretty much, what if the crux of the character is, what if Reed Richards just fully sucked as a person? Like, fully went for the just like I'm God and can do whatever I want type shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, shout out to the maker.
Yeah. What have you been?
Yeah, where's your book club?
What's your book?
Is it a book?
Is it a book?
I do not read normal books anymore. School kind of ruined that for me for the most part, unless it's a book that I already somewhat like. Like again, Dune or The Hobbit or something like that. I'll read those. I'll read those again. But
books are a time commitment. I get it.
Yeah, they're a time commitment. Which I would rather spend playing Persona 3.
That's your book.
Yeah,
that's your book. That's your book.
That's my.
Shaymin brought up a novel. I brought up comics, and then Liam's like, "I got my video game. I got my video game."
So I can either go over Persona 3 or I can go over a movie or something like that.
Do what you want.
Whatever you want to do.
I think since I'm not done the game, I'll wait. Okay. I watched. Have you guys ever heard of Persepolis?
No.
Okay, so it's this animated movie. It's sort of like this joint production between, I think, Iran and France.
Ooh.
And it's this semi-autobiographical movie. It was based off a comic by the same woman, and the woman went to go on and direct the movie. Nice. About this girl growing up during like Iran's revolution, stuff like that, and seeing sort of like the rise of like the Islamic fundamentalist government. Mm-hmm. And then moving to like Europe. She went to Austria first, then came back to Iran for a little bit, and then I think ultimately ended up in France. Mm-hmm. And it was a very well done, like emotional sort of film, seeing her try and like rebel against the power structures that be, which obviously, it's a pretty that's a power structure that will kill you.
Yeah.
If you fuck around. So the stakes could be pretty high sometimes. It was a great sort of like look at the point of view of people during that era, or at least like people who weren't for the Islamic Republic, because of, if you're for, then, it was pretty great for you. Good for you, it happened. And then seeing like, tackling themes of like, like rebellion and what that means and sacrifices to make in that. It tackles ideas of like foreignness and loneliness when she leaves and has a hard time finding her place in the world outside of her home nation. Especially in Vienna, she like super struggles with it. Has a lot of identity crises with that, and it's so beautifully animated. It's gorgeous. And it's very stylistic 2D animation, very reminiscent of the comic it was based off of. I would totally recommend it. It's a very good movie. It's not exactly historical per se. It's more, I would say it's definitely more autobiographical instead of historical, because it's more interested in this.
It's more of a
this person's personal journey through these events, instead of focusing on like, okay, and this is the circumstances that led up to the,
to this
Iran being the way it is.
Yeah.
What'd you watch it in? English?
No, it is in, I'm pretty sure.
I see French, Persian, English, German.
I'm pretty sure I watched the French version.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't the German version, because I could tell they weren't speaking German. I could tell they weren't speaking English, so I guess it was the French version.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
You narrowed it down. Good job. You did it.
Yeah, we figured it out. I knew that shit wasn't German, and I could certainly tell it wasn't English. But yeah. And again, one interesting thing is it's a joint venture between France and Iran.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because I would definitely say the story is not pro-Iran, at least in its current state. It's So it's pretty interesting that they funded it and then also like sort of banned it for a while, as far as I could tell, for a little bit from airing. Huh. So it's like maybe you guys shouldn't have paid for it, I guess. But yeah, it was very well done. I quite liked it. Yeah. I would recommend it.
That's only an hour 32.
Watch movies that weren't made in America.
Yes.
Just please watch movies that weren't made in America sometimes.
Especially animated movies.
So good for you. It's so good to watch movies that are outside of like what you would normally experience. So make an effort for sure to watch shit that isn't from your home nation.
There's some good shit out there.
Culture.
Yeah.
There's some great shit out there. As far as just like international stuff right now, South Korea in particular is really coming up in the industry. I'd say it's probably the third biggest producer of entertainment globally at this point. I don't know if that's true. It just feels like that to me, where it would be like
it feels like that.
America because of Hollywood, Japan because of like anime and manga and games. Actually, because of games, I would maybe place Japan a little bit higher. Japan, America. I don't know. I don't have real numbers.
America's a bit bigger, just because America has more mass. But yeah,
but a lot of anime, a lot of manga, and a lot of games come from Japan. So
and Korea,
big industry giant, and now South Korea is really like, I think, receiving a lot of appreciation from like the global audience right now. If you check like Netflix and stuff like that, a lot of the top drama shows are South Korean.
Yeah.
A lot of movies that are South Korean are like really coming to light. Like I'd say in particular, like Train to Busan.
Yeah. That's great.
Parasite. You know, Squid Game. Squid Game. Like, you know, they in particular are really coming up and making themselves known to the world. But like even still, like just dude, watch a movie from Iran or watch a movie from you know, Germany, or watch a movie from Russia. Watch movies from Soviet Russia, dude. Soviet Russian movies are so crazy.
Take a dartboard and throw it, and then just see what country you land on.
Dude, just watch Battleship Potemkin. Just
watch Battleship Potemkin right now. That movie is so insane. I saw a baby get trampled by a military force in like the 30s or 40s. That shit's nutty to have on film at the time.
Wow,
yeah, that is.
That's nuts.
But yeah, didn't actually like they didn't really do it. Special effects.
Yeah, it's special effects.
They didn't kill that. They didn't kill the baby.
It was 1925. Are you sure? Did they have the technology?
Yeah, I watched it happen, I guess. And they definitely didn't really kill that baby.
Oh, dang.
It doesn't look 100% real, but it's a very, for that scene in particular, it's just a very shocking scene because of it's essentially in the people of what is about to be Soviet Russia sort of rebelling against the Tsar's army and just being like, hey, we won't take it anymore. And then they just went, okay, and started shooting all of them.
Yeah.
So, very good scene. But yeah, I think that's about all the time we have, guys. Wow. But thank you so much for presenting this one, Angelo.
Yeah, of course. Hellboy is one of my favorite comics just ever, you know. Very impactful to me, impactful to my career. So it was very fun to share it with you guys and also to hear your opinions on it. And if I got any facts wrong, shut up. Don't speak in the comments.
Yeah. Do not engage. Do not engage with our video.
I think you should engage. No, I think you should.
If there's anything that, you know, we might have gotten wrong or any other details that we might have missed, just let us know. Just drop it below.
Angrily.
Yeah.
Negative.
Hey. Anyway.
Negative enforcement booster.
Say something so controversial.
Don't do that.
Comments right now. Say something so controversial.
Don't do that.
We get a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
There are arguments in the comments right now.
Yes. just start going crazy at each other.
Can you believe that's an actual strat that people have? That's real. People do that.
And make sure to subscribe.
Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Yeah. Do we want to plug any socials? Do we want to do that? I think we should.
We can plug that at the end, bro. We could just have it show up on
text.
I'm putting it on screen right now. Whoa! Follow us there.
All right, we gaming.
All right, but close us out, Angelo?
So, thank you everybody for watching and listening to this episode of the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. This has been super fun talking to you guys about Hellboy. Once again, like, subscribe, drop a comment, and I've been Angelo, no longer Angelo. I've been Angelo.
Once I was Liam.
I was never Shaymin.
Oh, dude, that sucks to hear.
That's so sad. That's such a sad ending. All right, cut it off there. There you go. Bye.
Pass it on. As far as he's going to grab me.
Oh! Liam's getting like strangled. He's like, oh.